Podcast Network Asia.
Welcome to She Talks Peace, a podcast that highlights the role of women peacebuilders around the world in bringing lasting peace and security to communities. Eavesdrop on their communities and get to know their stories. From the Philippines to Malaysia, from Indonesia to Palestine, from Myanmar to the United States. Their dreams and hopes for a world without violence and a world where every woman and girl can be whoever she wants to be. Hosted by Amina Rasul Bernardo, President of the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy. This is She Talks Peace.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another interesting episode on She Talks Peace. I'm Amina Rasul of the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy, joining you from Manila. And I'm here with my co-host.
Hi, everybody. This is Ayesa, and I'm here in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah. Hi, Amina. Nice to see you again.
So good to see you. I like your hairstyle these days. You look so fresh. You look so fresh. Have you been meditating, distressing yourself from all of the irritants of life?
You know how it is, Amina. You just have to cut your hair short, and that's it. That solves all the problems in the world. They say when you want to start anew, just go to the hair salon and have a new haircut.
Actually, I agree with you 100%. I for the longest time, I had my hair really long, and my hair's thick, so it's always like a heavy load. And I guess that also, the problems that we face adds to the load. So one time I went to the beauty salon, told them to cut it really hair. It's like, a ton is lifted off my shoulders. If only, Ayesa, it was that difficult to relieve ourselves of all of the stresses, like all of the armed conflicts, what's happening in Iran to those wonderful young girls and women who are cutting their hair, what's happening in Ukraine, oh my God, what's happening in Myanmar, all of the stresses on your mental health. How do you take
all
care
the sad stories?
But
all
how do
the
you
sad
take care of
stories.
your mental health, Ayesa? What do you do to take care of your mental health?
Well, it sounds very simplistic, but anyhow, one is to go to the hair salon regularly. Second is to get a massage regularly.
Oh, yeah.
And also karaoke singing, singing, singing
Karaoke?
everywhere.
I've never heard you. I actually have never heard you sing karaoke, yes. We should do that in the next
because Amina, I don't have
meeting.
because Amina, I don't have a very nice voice. So I just do this for my own self. I cannot let other people hear my real voice in singing.
Yeah.
My daughter will be so angry when I volunteer. I'm going to sing now. I said, please, mommy, don't sing.
So what you do is you don't want to add to the stress of other people. You don't want to be a burden on their mental health. So you just sing to yourself. Is that what you're saying?
But it works for myself, if I can sing by myself, listen to music, and then do anything to pamper myself, that helps a lot. I'm sure it does to many people as well, to men and women. Pampering ourselves is one way.
Actually, you're absolutely right about that. I have heard a lot of accounts. There have actually been studies about that, about music as therapy for mental issues. But if only that could take care of all of the factors, right, that affect our mental health these days. I look around and I keep wondering how people handle their mental health issues in places like Iran, in Ukraine, in Myanmar, in Cambodia. especially because you had genocide there, right? So
That's
how are
right. Yeah.
they? I keep wondering about how those people are managing, Ayesa. How about in Malaysia? Do you have issues focusing on mental health? Or you're too happy because Malaysia is rich and Malaysia is peaceful?
That's not entirely true. I work in the university, so many academics these days are so stressed, being pressured to publish in Scopus journals. So talking about stress,
Oh
it
my
does
God, yeah.
happen to us, in many ways, but in a different kind of way. So, but then going back again to, especially in places where they have armed conflict and violence, and you mentioned Cambodia, where they have had this history
Right,
of genocide. That
right.
must really be very difficult. So, we are very lucky that today we will be talking to somebody who is working on this field of helping overcome the struggles of mental health among the Cambodian people. So, our
Yeah.
guest for today, Amina, is he a friend
Mhm.
of yours? How did you meet Dr. Chim?
Oh, yes. He is one of the Ramon Magsaysay awardees for 2022. So
Okay, we should congratulate him.
that's how I got to know him. I am so much in awe about the accomplishments of Dr. Chim, a Cambodian psychiatrist. And Dr. Chim was only 7 years old when the Khmer Rouge took power in 1975. I cannot imagine what that does to the
Mhm.
psyche of a child. I mean, you and I, we know about the Khmer Rouge, a radical communist movement that aimed to establish a classless communist state, complete rejection of capitalism, which, by the way, is back in full force
Mhm. Yeah, in
in
Cambodia.
yeah. And children like Dr. Chim were actually separated from their parents to work in labor camps. Can you imagine what that must have been like? And Dr. Chim was among the first Cambodian psychiatrists to graduate after the Khmer Rouge. And Ramon Magsaysay saw what he has done in the field of mental health as executive director of Cambodia's Transcultural Psychosocial Organization, or TPO, the largest NGO in the field of mental health, healthcare, and psychosocial support in Cambodia. Welcome to the show, Dr. Chim.
Thank you so much, and thank for your warm congratulations to the award I received, and thank
Yes,
you
Dr.
for
Chim, thank you. Thank you for joining us today, and we are really excited to talk to you. Again, congratulations on your award.
yeah, thank you so much again. Yeah, I'm happy to join you and share what I can uh, share or what I I know about.
Dr. Chim, the first time that I learned about Cambodia and the genocide in Cambodia was, I think I was still in high school, and that was the time that the famous Hollywood movie Killing Fields was
All
Yes,
very,
right, right.
yes,
popular because it was a required film to be watched, in one of
yes.
my classes in high school.
Mm.
And during the time that my classmates and I were watching it, we really couldn't believe that that was actually a true story that was
It is.
happening,
It
that
was
happened
really
in
true.
Cambodia.
Yeah, it was really true. Yeah, you can see the labor camps. It's like that. It was the killing was like that. Yeah.
What
So
do you
what are
remember? What do you remember about those days, Dr. Chim? What
Um,
was your childhood like under the Khmer Rouge?
I remember I only have one piece of cloth
Wow,
for many years. For many years,
wow.
and working in the camps. The camp was digging the irrigation canal.
Mm-hmm.
So I was moving from one place to another place, finish in one place, move another. There was no shelter,
Mhm.
so sleep on the rice field. and sometimes sleep in the rain.
Wow.
Not time, yeah, most of the time. And when we get sick, there was no medicine. So what we have to do was like chewing different kind of leaves. It was lucky that we were survived. I don't know if the leaf will cure the disease, but I think people just happen to be cured. And there was no food. We only have 2 food per day and only a little bit of porridge, rice porridge.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if we hungry, we can catch anything in the rice field and eat. But they don't allow us to eat either because we need
Really?
to ask, yeah, we need to ask their permission. For
Oh my goodness.
example, when I work in the rice field, I saw snail or fish. I cut fish and then cook, grill or whatever. But
Mhm.
if they saw it, they will torture us.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we need to ask their permission to do this. Yeah, otherwise we cannot. Right. Yeah.
But I always thought, Dr. Chim, that those that they really punished were intellectuals. I didn't, and
Yeah.
capitalists. I didn't realize that even children, 7-year-old, 8-year-olds, were also put in labor camps.
But they teach children to spy on their parents.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
they brainwash. They say you
oh.
are the children of Angka. Angka is like the Khmer Rouge administrative body, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You are not belong to your parents. So they teach us to spy the parent, because if they know that the parent were intellectuals or white collar workers, then they will kill. So they keep asking all the children, what did your father do?
Uh-huh.
What did your mother do? How was
Uh-huh.
your life before? But my mother teach me what we call, well, everyone, in Pol Pot time we have a concept called plant the kapok trees. The kapok tree is a cotton, right?
Yes, yes.
It's the cotton
Cotton
in,
tree.
Yeah.
right, in Khmer. It's this kind of word. It means dumb, deaf, and blind.
Oh,
So we don't say to people that, oh, don't talk about this high identity, but we just say plant the kapok tree. So everyone know that. So my mother tell me that plant the kapok tree. In any case, you must not say anything, because they keep asking me, what did your mother do in Pol Pot time, before Pol Pot time? And I said, well, she was seller, like vegetable seller.
Mm-hmm.
That was okay. But if I say no, she worked in the government ministry, then
Problem.
they arrest her and
Yeah.
kill. So everyone did this, and they deprive people from food. But the
Mm.
children hungry. Children. I remember my children in my camps. He was hungry, and he asked food from his mother, and mother don't have food to give him. And what he said was, he got angry with his mother. He said, well, his mother and father was government official.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they say, oh, you are government official. Let's go to work in the government office. So they take the whole family to the government office, meaning that they kill.
Oh dear. No
So they,
wonder, Dr. Chim, that 40%, according to your NGO, 40% of Cambodians suffer from mental health problems. I mean, if from childhood you have not just this pressure, but the dysfunction that is forced on you and your families. No
yes,
wonder you have been very active in looking at the effects of torture. Maybe you can tell us about the work that you did on truth, trauma, and the victims of torture, because you were an expert witness. What is this? Your method called testimonial therapy, and what is this concept of baksbat, or broken courage? How can courage be broken, Dr. Jim?
yeah. Well, thank you again. the concept of broken courage existed in Cambodia long time ago in the 1413s when the Khmer kingdom and the Thai kingdom, fight with each others, and the Thai kingdom occupy Khmer kingdom in the eastern part for centuries. And as far as I know, there was like a lot of torture and all this, and make people courage was broken. So this continue to exist until now. Even the Khmer Rouge make people even more courage broken, more baksbat. So when I work in psychiatry, at first people translate post-traumatic stress disorder as baksbat, as broken courage. But when I look at the diagnostic criteria, we cannot capture PTSD in our clinical practice.
Right.
That make me wonder, was it a correct diagnosis, calling Cambodian people having PTSD? So, but instead I hear people say about baksbat. Baksbat from Khmer Rouge time, it make me broken. Courage, my courage is broken. So then I start to think maybe Cambodian have a different responses to trauma than PTSD. Because according to our cultures, our way of coping, our belief, I think the trauma can come in a different form. That's why I did a study in my PhD at Monash University. I did a study on Khmer trauma syndrome, so that it come with Cambodian trauma syndrome of baksbat. And in regarding to testimonial therapy, because when the tribunal started in Cambodia, there were many victims who want to testify against the Khmer Rouge leaders. Some people, they have a chance to testify, but they do not have evidence. But some people, they're afraid to testify because the Khmer Rouge, make people mistrust, fear, the courage is broken. That's why I discussed with colleagues in other country, and they use testimonial therapy for victim of human rights abuse. So meaning the victim of human rights abuse tell the narrative of their story, and the story read aloud in the publics. But we think we can do it similar. So what we did was that we involved the religious into it, because Cambodian people can have a safe, comfortable space in the presence of Buddhas, religious figures, monks, nuns, imam, or priests, Christian priests. So we interview our victim, and we write their story into a book, and then we read the story aloud in front of the public in the presence of the Buddhist monks, and the Buddhist monk give blessing after that. These people have never told their story to others, because I think of the lack of courage, the fears, the re-traumatization that make these people hide their story. Even their children don't know what happened to them. So from this testimonial therapy, they overcome it through telling the story, through sharing the story in the publics, and they get blessing from monk, and to make them live in peaceful mind afterward. And this testimony therapy of the patient become the document for the court, because there were people who testify in the court, and we have their story document. And there were a lot of people, that what we call civil party, who never have a chance to testify, but we allow them to testify in the community with the presence of religious people instead. And now their story are kept in the archive of the extraordinary chambers in the court of Cambodia.
Dr. Chhim, I really like that method that we have started, this testimonial therapy, because the truth shall make you free. And
Yeah.
when you tell your story, you are not just telling the truth, but you are repairing your
Yeah.
broken courage, as well
Healing.
as
Yes, yes, yeah.
providing evidence that can again be part of your healing. Wow, yes, that's
Yeah,
really
it's
fabulous.
very, it's an ingenious way, and then it's something that Cambodia actually can contribute, to many places who are doing similar like reconciliation type of process, like maybe even in Bangsamoro, where we
Oh
have
yes.
this truth and justice reconciliation. That's a very good idea and therapy that you've done, Dr. Chim. But I would like to ask you, Dr. Chim, knowing that in our Asian culture, doing all these mental health therapy is something that can be quite embarrassing, to many people. It is
Stigma.
also,
Yeah.
looked at something that is expensive and maybe not important because people tend to just want to keep their emotions privately. How are you able now to to encourage more Cambodians, to come out and really seek help for their mental health? I know that you've done this. You mentioned already with the help of the religious leaders, but in today's generation, I understand that there are many of the victims of the Khmer Rouge experience were people like you, your generation, and maybe your parents. But how about the younger people today in Cambodia? Are they still affected by all these very traumatizing experience, and how are they able to seek help for their mental health?
Yeah, well, I think there are two group of people, the older and the younger. For the older people, it's difficult to work with because they don't believe about mental health. Mental health is a stigma. Uh, Confessing to people that they have mental health problem is a weakness, and it's also stigmatized the whole family. In our society, if someone have mental health problem in the family, nobody will marry to the children of that family. So that's why they keep mental health issues internally. They don't express, they don't cry. So that was the old people. So in doing to address this, a lot of awareness raising we conducted. So that's why we have community mental health program. Our staff was on motorbike, reach out to community using poster. So poster illustrate different, cause and effect of mental health problem. It's not necessarily crazy, but this kind of problem that they encounter in their daily life, in their community, can affect their mental health problem, and it's not necessarily becoming crazy, have mental health problem, only like feeling anxious, only feeling depressed and demoralized, and all these constitute the mental health problem. So we do a lot of awareness raising for the people. We use poster, we use radio talk show, because people cannot read in rural area, they cannot read. So when they see this, they can understand. So through years of this work, awareness raising, people become aware of their own problems and they seek help. But still, because our work, like I said, only a small piece in the whole country. In regard to the younger generation, I can see they are better than their parents because they they seek help because they acknowledge that mental health problems exist, and they seek help when they have problem, and sometimes they see the mental health problem in their parent, so they encourage parent to come in my clinic. My patient sometimes the the children has depression themselves, and they knows that this may be caused by their parents mental health problems. So when they seek help, they feel better, they encourage parent to come, but parent don't come. So what they asked me, what can I do, doctor? I said, okay, I have questionnaire for your parent to check. So when the parent have questionnaire and check, they have full symptom of mental health problem. So then they start to agree that, okay, I may have mental health problem, but I don't want to come to treatment. So whatever you can do and have medicine for me to take, I will take.
Mm.
So that's what they do.
Yeah. You know, Dr. Chim, before the show started, you and I were having a conversation about how mental illness was taken care of 30, 40 years ago, because you were telling me that the first psychiatrist, you had the first psychiatrist in Cambodia, like what, 30 years ago? And before that, anything mental was treated as a spiritual problem. So you get faith healers to do rituals. And I
Yes.
was just telling Dr. Chimayesa that when I was growing up, we did the
Mm-mm.
same thing. You know, if
Yeah.
you were depressed, there's something, a bad spirit has entered you.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
so
I think
today, so
that's common.
yeah, and I suppose, Dr. Chim, because you only have so many psychiatrists and very low investment in health, especially mental health in Cambodia. So you still have these faith healers, these rituals that are relied on
Yes.
by most of the people, especially in the rural areas. So how do you work with them? Do you like train these faith healers so that they could be a little bit more effective in taking care of, say, depression?
Yes. Well, in our community mental health program, we have several steps. First, we do assessment of the community because we are from outside. We need to understand the community. So we do assessment. We look for resource available, meaning that where do people seek help if they have problems, and we want to know what did they do to help themselves. We want to know problem they are encountering. So this kind of assessment help us to understand, but also help us to build a relation with the local people, local authority and local people. And then we identify the resource people like traditional healers, the mediums, monk, uh, other healers. So especially people who was the a kind of therapist in the community. So we invite them to our training program. So the training program teach them to understand what is mental health problems, what
Mm.
is like most common mental health problem, and so it helped them identify the problem in their community, and provide them some small kind of basic mental health support. If they patient come to them, they can identify and then they can treat the way kind of primary basic things. And if they cannot, then they can refer to uh, health centers,
Mm-hmm.
to to other area where there are mental health service available. So from teaching to these people, they understand and they start to refer client to the health center or to the hospital. So I think this is good. Also, we teach monk about mental health problem because when people have problem, they go to monks and they ask
Yes.
what, to help them with improve their luck or their strength and all this. So monks
Right.
say, well, I give you water blessing, but you need to
Mm-hmm.
see the doctor. So
Yeah.
we do this, and we see a lot of people who were come to us referred by those people we train.
So
Dr.
Dr.
Chim,
Chim,
we
yes, I was just thinking that Dr. Chim now has many barefoot doctors and
Yes,
barefoot
that's right. That's
psychiatrists
right.
who are
yes,
working with him to
yes,
Yeah.
expand mental health. But you were
yes,
All
saying,
the
yes,
religious leaders, yeah, all the religious
yes,
leaders as part of his now mental health interveners.
yeah,
Dr. Chim, I understand that your organization also have a lot of activities very specific to the mental health needs of women, especially those women who have been victims of forced marriages, rape, and other forms of sexual and gender-based violence against women. What kind of activities does your NGO do to help all these women in Cambodia?
we have two parts. One project is for the victim of sexual violence under the Khmer Rouge, because under Khmer Rouge there was a lot of sexual violence that happened by the Khmer Rouge cadres, the military, yeah, to the people. And for the present days, we have a program that improve mental well-being of the victim of domestic violence, because
Yeah.
yeah, because there are still a lot of domestic violence in the country. So in both part, um, in sexual violence under the Khmer Rouge, we do also testimony therapy, trauma counseling, and if we see that they have psychiatric problems, we prescribe medication. So there was people who have very severe depression or severe panic attacks that happened as a legacy from Khmer Rouge abuse at that time until now. So after receiving testimonial therapy, it helped them one step, to overcome, to break their silence, and then continue with counseling and medical treatment. And for the current victim of domestic violence or gender-based violence, we do awareness raising on mental health issue. We set up self-help groups because this group create a safe environment for women to talk, to share their traumatic experience, to share the way they deal with violence in their home place, or to share how they together can do more work in the future to stop violence. So we have self-help groups for women of domestic violence. We have individual counseling, especially those who have more severe problem and continue to receive our treatment. And for those who are having severe problem, we prescribe medication. But at the same time, we work with a lot of network in the community, because in community there are like village health volunteer, commune council members, or like justice NGO, like human rights NGO. They address justice issue of the women's. And we work with also women who an organization that provide livelihood support, because a lot of victims, they are poor. So people are trapped in the vicious cycle of poverty, mental health problem, and violence. So that's why we need to have a holistic approach to
Yes.
address, the mental health and gender-based violence issue of the woman.
Anyway,
Earlier, I mean, now,
yeah,
yeah.
Ayesa and I were having a conversation earlier about the daily stress on mental health that the people who are in relatively peaceful communities suffer. Professionals suffer, like Ayesa. Competition in the university, is always so terrible. And if you're in the NGO world, finding resources to continue your advocacy, really burdens you a lot. So for this normal everyday stresses, what can you recommend to help us maintain an even keel and work on our mental health? Yes, and I were talking about music therapy, meditation. Do this
Massage.
actually massage? Do this actually help in improving or stabilizing our mental health, Dr. Jim?
Yeah, well, I don't do all you have done. I'm tickled. I don't want people to touch me.
So
But
what we should do, Dr. Chim?
it is very important that we have a network. So
Mm.
we in our organization we have a structures that have supervisor, someone on top who can how can I say, supervise others, junior counselor, less experienced counselor, or counselor or psychologist. They may have problem. They may have been re-traumatized by
Mm.
problem of their patients. So we have regular discussion. We have regular supervision to help these people, how can I say, doing catharsis or debriefing of
Debriefing, yeah.
about the issue they have encountered with their client. So I think this help, and we have regular training so to give them more skill
For your
uh,
own people.
for our own people, because we need to care for caregiver.
Oh, yes, yes.
And every Friday afternoon we have what we call self-care session. So we
What
have
is that? What is your self-care session?
the supervisor, they teach, they lead in doing meditation, in
Ah,
yoga or stretching exercise and all this. Sorry. Yeah. So they're doing exercise, they're doing relaxation, breathing. So just to help them improve their well-being. So we do it every Friday afternoon. Yeah. And then we create a sense of group. So we often have a kind of retreat. So for example, we have the 2 retreat a year, mid-year, and a kind of team building mid-year and the end of the year. So at the end of this year, we are supposed to have one in December, but since I am receiving the award and going to take the award to receive in Manila, so they all want to come.
Visit
It's
you in
always
Manila,
a
Amina.
Yeah.
yes.
So 40 of us will go to
Oh,
Manila.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I think this is a kind of team building to help them relieve stress, to keep them, momentum, to keep them
More motivated.
moral, and so they can continue to work. And for me, I tell people, my staff, that whenever I eat something nice, I want you to eat too. Whenever I go somewhere and see something nice, I want to take them to see too. So they are happy, and they get all what I said. Now I'm going to the Philippines. I want them to see, so they want to come and see too.
Wonderful. And
Good boss.
if I may add another form of therapy, shopping therapy.
Yeah, they will do
And
too.
let me tell you why that's important for men and not just women. When I go to another country, the first thing I want to go to is the market,
Oh,
because when I'm there, I forget my troubles and I see what the community
yeah,
likes,
That's
and
right.
I hear them, and it's so normal. And like you, I like buying things from the country that I can take home and share, so that my family, my staff, my friends have a taste of a different life, and take
yeah.
your mind off your troubles. So when you come, Dr. Jim, with your people, let's do shopping therapy. And Ayesa, I think I will take them to Green Hills, where there are
Yes.
more
Oh,
than
yeah.
100
That's
traders
right.
that sell a
Yeah.
lot of products that come from indigenous communities. So shopping
That's
therapy,
right.
Dr. Jim,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
good, right?
Traditional handicrafts.
yeah. Well, Ramon Maksasai Foundation, they point out already one shopping place, and they want to take us there. Yeah, cultural, something like that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
The Mon
Okay. Happy
Magsaysay
shopping.
Foundation is very smart, Ayesa, very smart.
Uh,
So thank you so much, Dr. Chip. Time flies when you're having fun, and I'm looking forward so much to seeing you in Manila when you come. But before we leave, perhaps you have a message that you would like to share with our listeners. How do they care for their mental health? A message, and perhaps how they become more effective in maintaining their mental health, Dr. Jim.
well, I think it is good to live in a balanced life. we know we have a lot of work to do, but if we don't have the balance in our life, we cannot achieve our goal, because our body cannot tolerate with all the effort that we want to do. So we need to listen to our body. When the body complains, for example, our heart beat faster, it doesn't mean that we have a heart problem, but our heart tell us that we may need to take a little bit of break. We may need to slow down a little bit. Then when we slow down, our internal organ have time to relax, as well as to restore the balance in our body, and that make us more healthier, and we can work longer, and we can work more productive. So that's my message. Another one, I think that I found that the idea of helping others who are in needs of whatever kind of needs, it's a rewarding back to us. So for me, like helping my other trauma survivors who are traumatized like myself, it helped me back heal as well. It healed me. So that's why people ask, how can I heal this mental health problem? And I say, well, helping people with mental health problem, with trauma, it helped me heal myself. So I think it's a kind of rewarding. It's how can I say, it creates an internal hormone, oxytocin, the hormone that help us, provide love, compassion, and it helps us grow more. Yeah.
Amen to that. I totally agree.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chhim, for those words of wisdom. Our dear listeners, if you would like to learn more about the life and work of Dr. Chhim, visit the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation at www.rmaward.asia. And perhaps you will be able to reach out to Dr. Chhim if you want to perhaps go to Cambodia, and I'm sure Dr. Chhim might be interested in getting volunteers to help out. And if you would like to, if you have questions for Dr. Chhim or comments, or you have ideas about future episodes for She Talks Peace, do send us an email at shetalkspeacepodcast@gmail.com. Let me repeat that. shetalkspeacepodcast@gmail.com. And the email of Dr. Chhim is Sotheara, SOTHEARA, @tpocambodia.org. So thank you so much for listening to us. Thank you, Dr. Chhim, for joining us. This is Amina Rasul from the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy, saying thanks again. Goodbye. Take care of your mental health. Sing, even if it's out of tune. Have a perfectly balanced work-life situation, as Dr. Chhim has said. And we'll see you again next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Congratulations again, Dr. Chhim.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Chhim. I'll take you on shopping therapy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
She Talks Peace is brought to you in partnership with Podcast Network Asia and Podmetrics, the easiest way to monetize your podcast. For more information, check out their website at podcastnetwork.asia and podmetrics.co.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.